Computer. Okay. So I've started recording now. So at least you can have some, information. So we said that we have established that the unit of relatability, I mean, the basic unit of relatability is person's identity, isn't it? That it is difficult for you to actually establish a relationship without, knowing or without having the identity of the person that you're dealing with. You couldn't actually say that you have a relationship with someone without knowing their name. And the name may not necessarily be what we call it as a natural name, as in the name, the given name for the person, but you probably would know the person on a particular level. And we have established that, as Mimi said, young guys or guys usually save the names of supposed friends that they have a very good vibe, a very good bond with some, kind of pseudonyms, or with some stage names like Chairman, like Big Boss, like, Oxy, like my nickname, for example. Most of my friends in Augustins will call me Oxy, and that kind of names. And they would establish that as the contact person. Of course, in another set of relationship, this individual will be known by another name. That, yes, Absu. Okay, Kobe, you'll be Absu, and then you have the same name as well. Okay, great to know. So and I know Mimi is the what do you call Hobson, isn't it? Mimi, are you know Hobson? Yeah. Okay. So in another relationship, in another set of relationship, this person would be known, with a different name. And so we always have the name as the basic unit of relatability. And you have to actually have that in mind, that if you can establish a relatable and a very bonded relationship, you cannot miss the identity of the person. You need to have that in mind. Okay, so we're on the second point of the basic unit of relatability, in relationship. And most of you have said that mutual interest, mutuality, person's interest, mutual friends, as in having one common, mutual friend, communication, shared sentiment. Okay, so who would want to explain their point? Yeah, any of the points raised? Okay, so mutual identity, tribes, religion, etc. Kobe has said that. All right, who would want to explain their point? Yeah, of the next level of relatability, basic unit of relatability. Who would want to explain their point?
Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, Kobe, we can hear you.
Yeah, so with my idea about mutual identity, including the tribes, religion, and even, as you said right now, when you said you went to St. Augustine's, that was something that I could have built a relationship on. If you said maybe you are from Kwewu or something, that's another thing I can build a relationship on. Those things, you meet somebody who has a shared identity with you, and it makes it very easy to build a relationship from there.
Excellent. That's a fantastic point. So in identity, apart from the name, as Kobe just mentioned, issues about association, the kind of association you guys are, related to, or, the idea of, where you're coming from, ethnicity, tribe, all those, things are part of the basic unit of relatability. Then, of course, in terms of religion as well, he mentioned. All right, so that's self-explanatory. Who also want to explain the other points? We're looking at basic unit of relatability when it comes to relationship building. What else? Yeah, who else want to say something? Yeah? We're listening to you. Who else? Who else want to say something? Robin, do you want to explain your mutual friends? Okay. So just to, we have highlighted quite a number of points. So it means that you have to bear in mind that if you have to, establish a relationship. Guys, hold on. Sounds like somebody's knocking my door. Just a minute.
Okay, unmute my listen. Like who don't go full and you know the inside. I don't talk.
Okay, it's all right. Okay, so let's go on. So we're saying that when we want to establish a relationship, there are quite a number of things that we need to know, and we've established some of them. So mutual interest, that is things that actually, interest both of you or the partners of the relationship. You want to also know that, mutual identity, like religion, tribes, etc., associations that you belong in, all right? But also, you want to make sure that the relationship is of value, isn't it? It's of value. And then, of course, you are also determining the basic unit of that value. Those of you who have more than 3 friends, or let's say you have about five friends, do you actually spend all your time with all these 5 friends? Yeah, we're listening. Those of you have more than, let's say, 5 friends, do you, or more, do you spend, in equal measure your time with all these people? No? Okay. Benjamin. Okay, so all of you. So Benjamin, can you explain to us what happens when you have more than 1 friend, or you have 5 or more friends? What is the scenario?
Okay.
Benji, go on.
Yes,
Hello? Benjamin. Okay, Fapoma, can you explain to us then? I think Benji is having difficulty. So Fapoma.
You can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah. Okay, normally what I do is I relate with them, I do not explain, based on what we have in common. For instance, if let's take for instance my friends in the class.
Mm-hmm.
So how I relate with them has to do with maybe class issues.
Mm-hmm.
Then let's say maybe my friends who, let me see, who like maybe some particular kind of movies or series that I like, we relate on those issues too. So it depends on, that's how I do it.
Okay, excellent. So in terms of sharing your time, what you're saying is that you define the time that you're supposed to share with people based on the interest that you share.
Yes, please.
Okay. So can you give us a typical scenario how you share your time, your 24 hours with your set of groups? How many hours for who?
I don't exactly have maybe specific hours I allocate to each person.
Not necessarily being specific, but if you have your rough estimate, just by a casual look, how do you apportion your times?
Let me see. Okay, for instance, my friends in class, we normally meet to discuss like the course related issues, to learn together. So that takes quite a lot of my time. Then for the ones that maybe I discuss series with on the phone and things, the ones we talk maybe not exactly every day, but maybe from time to time. if something pops up, maybe a new movie or something. Yeah.
And then another set of friends?
Which other set of friends?
Because you've identified only 2 sets now. Academic set, then the series set. What is the next set of friends do you have?
Let me see. I don't know, maybe people that have the same fashion interest with. Okay. But that's actually very rare, unless maybe I see something and I want to sew.
That's a good point. That's very rare. You see, that's a good point. That's very rare. So I'm sure you guys are noting down what is happening. The scenarios. Okay. Then what's another set?
Let me see. Okay, with my friends in my neighborhood too. Okay. With that, normally when I'm home, then I see them, then we chatting. But aside that, I don't really interact with them.
Okay, excellent. Yeah. Good point. Now, Francis is saying that I think sometimes friends are there or in your life for different purposes. And so depending on the situation, that would determine the time sharing. Okay, that's a very good point. Now, if I ask you to map what factors have actually determined Fapama's time sharing, who can actually map those factors? Who can map the factors that are actually informing Sapama's time sharing? Yeah? Who can map it? Mutual interest.
Mutual interest.
Yes?
Yes, please.
Then what else? Who else want to add?
In terms of
Daniel, say it again.
Mutual interest in terms of the series, watching series.
Yes.
I think she talked so much about that. So just to have time with such friends.
Okay, good point. But what else is informing her dealings? So Malik, you said academic, movies, fashion. Yes, so that's the mutual interest. Academic, movies, fashion. Yes. Then Derek says the priority. Excellent. So priority is also, impacting on how she's sharing, and the level of interest. Yes, her priorities. Excellent. What else is informing? We are mapping the factors that are affecting the way she's sharing her time. What else? Location. Fantastic, Gideon. So time and space. You see, there's a location factor. She mentioned about her neighbors, and she says that, for her neighbors, it is when perhaps school is not in session or she's around the neighborhood, she's sharing time with them. All right. So location, just like Emanuela is saying, common geographical location. Yeah. So you see factors that are actually affecting the relationship. Yeah. So we're looking at common interests, we're looking at priorities, we're looking at space. Usually we say time and space. So the time and space that she finds herself is actually informing, how she shares her time. All right. Which time here is the value that we actually, allocating. Our time here is what we call the price. All right. In terms of relationship, we can look at it as cost. All right. The cost factors. So we can map. And can family bond be considered as a unit of relatability? Yes, of course, Radia. Family bond could be unit of relatability. So we're looking at factors that actually kind of inform, our relationship and how these, factors are actually mapped out. So you realize that in one person's scenario or one person's situation, the level of interest could rather be the first. All right. Or in some cases, even the same person, it may not necessarily be academic when school is out of session. Because currently, Fapoma says that she spends a lot of time with class colleagues. Because, of course, in terms of priority within times, that's what is the most prior in her arrangement. Now, what about when school is out of session? That priority list may change And so perhaps other things such as common interest in terms of fashion, all right, may become the priority, or something else may become the priority. So you realize that relationship changes, within time and space, all right? And the factor that actually impact on relationship are actually defined by, some of these things that we're actually discussing. And that means that relationship in itself is not static, it's dynamic. Are you guys getting it? All right. So the way we relate to people and the unit of relatability could actually change from time to time. All right. And this is our own, social relationship that we're talking about. Do you get it? Social relationship, how we relate to each other, etc. And that's what we're actually explaining. And we'll come to know that when it comes to relationship within the corporate world, it is no different from what we're actually discussing. Fantastically connected to what we're actually discussing from social point of view. All right. Now, if you look at the time sharing, all right, that she was relating them to. Now, why do you think that Fapama could not spend equally her time with the unit of relationships or the set of relationships that she defined? She defined academic in a relationship with her colleagues, in a special interest relationship like fashion, like series things. She defined geographical relationships. Why do you think that she's not able to spend equal time with all these sets of relationships? Yes, another set of questions. Why? Yeah, who would come in? Yeah, we are discussing our own social relationships, with people. What do you think, is the reason why, in Fapama's example, she cannot spend equal time with the set of relators or the set of people that she has relationships with? Yeah? Guys, pump up, pump up. When I say pump up, it means do well to actually critique or be critical in your thinking and then come up with solutions, right? Think harder. Why? Why do you think she's not able to spend same time with everybody? Some are closer, yes. We have established that some are closer because of her priority, etc. But I'm sure that everybody would want to be considered a priority, isn't it? Why do you think that she's unable to spend equal time with everyone? Yeah, we are brainstorming, guys. This is not even the class. We're just brainstorming at an introductory level. Yeah? Because some are needs and some are wants. True. So that also comes back to priority issues. Yes. So again, I'm looking for a very crucial point. Yes, everyone would want to be considered as important. Everyone would want to be considered as top of the priority. But why is it that you cannot, get that? I mean, you cannot give everybody the same time, yeah, of attention. Why? Pump up, pump up. Guys, I'm listening. Time is limited. Fantastic. A round of applause for Samuel. Yeah, Samuel, I say. A round of applause for him. Yeah, good. Time is limited. You see, so there's a scarce resources here. There's a resource that, Fapama needs to, expend. She needs to expend a particular resource. And in this case, time, right? Now, she's not able to expend, the time with everybody. So you can imagine that if you have to actually travel to group discussions, travel to, your what do you call, your geographical area people, travel to this, or even if you have to call them, etc. And even you have the money, let's say you have the money to do that, you may not have the time. Do you get it? So there is always limitation of resources in terms of time, in terms of actual resource, like in terms of money, for example. All right, to maintain the entire relationships or the set of relationships that you have on the same level with everyone. All right. So you have material resource, like, as we said, money, or, means of transportation, etc. All right. That's material resource. And then you have a time resource. All right. You only have 24 hours. All right. And even that, part of it is for sleeping. So you can whittle down the 24 hours to a certain number of hours that you can expend. Now, it is conceivably impossible, all right, to think that you could actually apportion same amount of time for the sets of relationships that you have. It is impossible because of time, all right? And based on that, you then apportion the relationship in a manner that you deem, prioritized. So which of them would you prioritize in a particular space and time? Are you prioritizing the academic because it's a school time? Are you prioritizing, your what do you call, your series group because it's out of school session and or out of school time, and therefore you have some time to spend with regards to what do you call, leisure? Do you get it? So because of the limitation of resources, you want to make sure that you are judiciously applying resources in a manner that gives value. And that's why you cannot actually spend equally your time with a set of relationships that you have. And so you apportion them according to, a matter of priority at a particular period of time. Do you get it? So that is also another factor that actually influence the way we manage, our relationship in our private life. Because you have 10 people, 10 friends. Now, those 10 friends, if you have to take, trotro to each of them, that in itself could actually take you, let's say 50 cedis in a day. You don't have that amount of money. That in itself could take you almost 8 hours in a day. You don't have that kind of time. So you would actually apportion the time and the material resources that you have in a manner that actually fulfills the priority list. Are you with me? And that's how we manage, the relationship. Is that clear? Is that clear? Yeah? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Now, can somebody in summation or in sum actually put together what we have talked about? Or do you have any questions or contribution before we come to that? Any questions or contribution from what we've just discussed? Any questions or contribution? Questions or contribution, please. Okay. So before I start, we have up to, no question. Okay, right. We have up to what? 120, right? Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we'll just have approximately 1 hour. Can somebody sum up what we have just talked about before I go to the slides for us to look at? Because it looks like because of this, the abridged semester, we do not have enough time. So we still have to go through the slides, etc. Yeah. Who can sum up what we have just talked about? What did we discuss? What are the key things that we discussed? Yeah, pump up. Who would pump up? Yeah? Who would be that hero?
Okay, I'll try.
Yeah, Mimi, try.
Okay, so when we started, we spoke about what a relationship is, and then we all gave our definitions. So a relationship is an association where between two or more people where they share mutual interests and stuff. And then we also spoke about the basic points of every relationship, which is the name or the identity. So that's the basic point of every relationship. And also we spoke about the mutual interest and also having a relationship which is of value. We also went on to talk about some things that influence the way we manage our relationships, and then we mentioned time as a factor. That's all for now.
Okay, who want to add? Who want to add to what Mimi just said? Gideon, you want to try?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Let me add something. And we also said it is impossible to locate same time for everyone you are in relationship with. And then we also made mention of you should judiciously apply resources in a manner that gives value. That's what I can.
Excellent. Good point. Great addition. Yes. Okay. Who else want to add? Who else? Okay. All right. So let me just share my slides now. Who can share slides? Okay. So okay. So obviously introduction is done. Now, the session, it is imperative that we understand the historical development of marketing during the 20th century. So we're going to look at how marketing has actually developed. Obviously, it's within the context of marketing. Now, I understand that there are other courses, students from other courses that are taking the RM. Is that a purely elective or it's something that other students are involved, just like the tourism marketing. Mimi, do you know? So you're all marketing students, are you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, all marketing students.
Okay, cool. All right. So we'll have to, we have to look at Gideon, you're from other.
Yes, please, sir.
Okay. Which program are you?
Accounting.
Oh, okay. Interesting. That's good. I mean, you need to have RM as well because it's crucial for you.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, congrats for doing that. We're going to look at the factor that influence the development that we're going to talk about and the trends of development and progression of marketing in the 21st century. Obviously, the session outlines look at, as we said, development in marketing, the emergence and evolution of the marketing mix, customer services and marketing mix, 4Ps, etc. So the reading list, we're using Egan's book. Obviously, there's a new versions. 2012 version is what we're using now, but you can also have the new version. I'll look for them and I'll share with them, with you guys. Kumar's book actually look at more of the quantitative part of the RM, as we talked about. Gunro's, looks more extensive relationship from obviously the B2B and then the what we call the B2C relationships as well. And we'll look at some case studies, hopefully, as we go along. I'll send you guys. I'm sure you can see the slides, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, so let's look at the development in marketing. Obviously, marketing is one of the, relatively, you would say, the oldest as well as the youngest, course areas as well. I mean, it's been in existence since 1950s, but you would say that it's much more earlier than that. What we call the consumer marketing, it's when the dominant organizations like Coca-Cola, etc., were at the forefront of selling consumable goods, and so the approach was much more of transactional, if you put it that way, where they obviously manufacture what they think people want. And in that times, the organizations had special competences in terms of manufacturing competence, in terms of ideas, in terms of product knowledge. All right, so they bring that to bear and then make sure that they create these products and services in a manner that actually they feel will satisfy a need. And when you look at some of the development trajectories of marketing, they call it product orientation, right? Or production orientation. That is when organizations had production competences. So they have very elaborate or sophisticated manufacturing plants. They have sophisticated distribution networks. And then of course they would actually produce and push that product down to the consumers. Now the production orientation went further to what we call the sales orientation. Again, within the same consumer marketing space. At that point, companies were looking at how smart they can sell to the consumers. So they would actually recruit smart salespeople, give them competency training, give them all the required capabilities, in training, and then get them out to go and sell to people. Now, within that period, obviously the market was becoming competitive and was becoming much more sophisticated. Consumers were now beginning to question, companies' motive and companies' actions, on the consumption behavior. So people were demanding more accountability and demanding more quality. So within the consumer marketing period, from the production or the product orientation to sales orientation, then moved to what we call the marketing orientation. That marketing orientation is when companies started looking at what really is the need of the consumer and how do we actually satisfy those needs. So instead of concentrating on their own competences and their own abilities in production excellence, and instead of focusing more on sales, agility and sales abilities to push the product, because the competition has become intense and consumers have become very sophisticated, companies started actually listening to what consumers really needed. Now, it does not mean that the first and second stages of the consumer marketing period did not take into consideration consumer needs, but they were more of internal organization's observation. So the company feels that we know what customers want and we can actually see it, because obviously they didn't live in space, they lived with the people, isn't it? So they could, in one way or the other, have a sense of what people needed and they produced it. And in most cases, perhaps they were smart, but it didn't really satisfy, the needs of the people. And when we say the needs of the people, mean that, yes, you could probably use yourself as a point of reference to understand what people need, because the people within your catchment area or your relational group actually are asking for a particular thing. And you could use that as a sense of judgment to produce. But in marketing orientation period, that is in listening to customer needs, you then actually, companies have to actually group customers, of different needs forms, identify customers of different categories, and then understand what they need. So it means that instead of having a customer as a unitary group and thinking that all of them would need a bottle of Coke in a particular can, now the bottom line of, or the centerpiece of the marketing orientation, where companies were actually looking at the needs of the people, included research and segmentation. These two activities were key. So it means that companies now started thinking about, okay, how many groups of consumers do we actually have? That is segmentation. So identifying individual groups of customers with their needs as separate from other groups of customers with their needs. And then using research to understand those needs. And based on that, manufacturing and producing were the beginning of what we call the marketing orientation. All right. Still under the consumer marketing, stage, which was the early 1950s. All right. So that actually went on. Then companies started becoming sharper in becoming what we call customer centricism, i.e., customer need identification and satisfaction of that customer need to make them what? To make them profitable, all right? In order that they can beat the competition. Now, we then move to what we call the industrial marketing, because the idea of consumer marketing, we realized that was different from industrial marketing. But then companies were using the same thinking, the same orientation, in consumer marketing, which is B2C, in the way they deal with, corporate, customers, or what we call the B2B. But surely we know that there are differences. Of course, you couldn't actually say that consumer market is the same as industrial market, because consumer market, the consumer takes their own individual decisions, isn't it? So if you want a cup of tea, you make yourself a cup of tea if you have the resources. If you want, a laptop and it's Toshiba you just go and buy it. Now, in an industrial sense, there is nothing like that. I mean, there is what we call a buying center or a buying group. And that buying group includes somebody like, accountants, finance people, HR people, marketing people, all those, different subgroups or disciplines that you find in an organization. So the marketing department cannot just get up and say, oh, we need a fax machine and we want Toshiba, and then go and buy Toshiba. No, the accountant has to satisfy the organization, or satisfy themselves that indeed we have the money to buy Toshiba before, the procurement, or what we call the purchasing and supply unit department would agree that yes, we have to buy it. Because if the accountant says we don't have money for Toshiba, but we have money for Techno, then of course the purchasing and supply team would have to file for Techno, regardless of the interest of the marketing department. That is the department that is initiating the purchase. Are you with me? So in the industrial setting, the arrangement for market dealings are completely different from the consumer setting. And don't forget, it is not only industrial consideration, but also personality interest also in it. So we realized that the setup for industrial market is quite complex. And so marketing has to respond, or had to respond to that particular setup, all right? So the idea of industrial marketing, which we call a B2B, started emerging. So we started learning, how do marketers deal with industrial purchasing or industrial marketing, which is quite different from consumer marketing, yes? So the meta things, the metadata or the meta structures may be perhaps, the same in terms of organizations have need, organizations have identity, organizations are located somewhere, organizations also are manned by people, male and female, etc. So the meta stuff may be similar. But when it comes to the internal, dealings, the arrangement, the way they are, the the people that organizations are dealing with are not the same as people you find in consumer market. All right. The locations that you are dealing with, yes, they may be located in Kumasi, but they may not be located in Kumasi, consumer or what we call residential areas. They may be located in industrial areas like Aunagan or those places. The setup is different. So we started thinking about industrial marketing, in the 60s. Then, of course, marketing realized that, we realized that there is also another group of people who also use marketing, but are not the same as the first two groups that we just talked about, the consumer and then the industrial marketers, all right? We realized that there's a set of group of people who we call non-profit people. They work in organizational settings that do not make money. Now, in the industrial marketing people, they will buy, but because they are also going to resell what they have bought, all right, they have to make profit. And because of that, there are profit, decisions embedded in the decision that they are making in purchasing. But there's another set of group of people that do not necessarily make profit, but we realize that they also go through similar kind of considerations as the first two. Why? Because they also have need they need to satisfy. They also have target group they need to satisfy. They also have, other, marketing consideration they need to make. So we realized that, okay, they may also need marketing, but a different kind of marketing. And that's why nonprofit and societal marketing actually came to being. And such organizations are like, NGOs, what we call them, let's say environmental protection, society, a political party, let's say a church, a group. They may go through the process of, as any other marketing situation, but the end results may not necessarily be of a marketing type. And so the wholesale marketing principles that actually guide consumer marketing or industrial marketing may not fit within the nonprofit. So we have to actually make adjustment. So we came up with what we call the nonprofit society, a nonprofit and societal marketing in arrangement. Yeah. All right. So yeah, please. So we can actually do that. Just a minute. So we can actually, look at that and apply the marketing principles and procedures within that field, but then make some adjustment, to make sure that it properly fits within that, domain of nonprofit and societal marketing. Then we came to 1970s, where the idea of service marketing came to be. Now, within the service market, we realized that yes, there's another type of, domain that use marketing or marketing is applied, but it is not as the product domain that we know. And that aspect of marketing came to being because we realized that the characteristics of service, unlike product where you can actually touch it, feel it, you can see it, and then of course you can make a decision based on the packaging, etc. The services do not have that characteristic. You can't see them. Service is just like what we call a summon, right? like a ghost. You cannot actually see them, or you cannot actually touch them, or you cannot actually feel them, but they exist. And when you actually undertake services, there's an end result or end product of satisfaction that you actually feel, but you cannot see it and you cannot touch it. So we had to amend, we have to actually reframe the marketing concept to suit the service market, all right? And that's why we came up with what we call the service marketing, because of its peculiar characteristics, which we call intangibility, inseparability, heterogeneity, and perishability. I'm sure the characteristics of service, which you probably have done in marketing management, or the principles of marketing or fundamentals of marketing. All right. Now, then after that, we came to what we call relationship marketing. Now, the idea of relationship marketing came because, as we said, marketing had become, or the beginning of marketing was much more transactional. That, organizations sold and they resold and they resold without paying attention to some, aspect of the process or the relational process. Like, after you have sold the product, what next? What happens to the customer? All right. What are the customers' concerns? What are the customers' worries? Is the customer satisfied with it or they're not? I mean, there were so many other issues that marketing did not bother itself with, but were realities of the consumption process. Even before the person actually came to buy, what were the impediments? What were the concerns? What were the issues that they had to go through? Now, we didn't know those things, during the quintessential marketing period. That marketing didn't bother itself with the before, even the during and after sales process. And so relationship marketing realized that, no, we cannot just sell and go to bed. We have to understand that after the purchase, the consumer may have some concerns and we have to deal with. And even before the purchase, there may be things that we need to actually be aware of so that we could actually deal with them for the consumer to actually have a very smooth, processes of buying. And so relationship marketing came into being, all right? Now, after the relationship marketing had come into being, and that's what we're actually talking about, what do you think has been the future of marketing? And we're saying the future because, this is, somewhere 2012 we're talking about. Who can actually tell me the now and the future of marketing since we have come to 2021 now? Who can tell me what is the now and the future of marketing? Yeah? It's now your turn to talk. Guys, I'm listening. Pump up. By the way, did you follow the conversation? Hello? Okay. So Emanuela, yes, it says more of online marketing, yes. And then Marian, yes, you say you follow the conversation. Okay, so Emanuela, you're spot on. E-marketing, Malik, yeah, great one. Digital marketing, Mimi, yeah. So I need one person to explain to me what you've talked about, the e-marketing and perhaps other features of marketing. Yeah, who want to explain? Yeah? Pump up, I'm hearing you. Who want to take up the explanation? The future of marketing, or the now of marketing, and perhaps the more features of marketing. Yes? Who is speaking? Or you want me to call names? If you want me to call names, I will. All right? Who's going to speak? Okay, whose hand is up? You can use, obviously, you can use the hand reactions or the raise hands on the system. Yeah, who want to speak?
Okay, sir.
Okay.
All right. What I know is basically the use of internet to reach consumers.
Okay, so explain that. We have so many ways of it.
Please, sir, let Mimi help.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay, Mimi. Gideon is taking you as a lawyer, but Gideon, go on if you want to. Yeah, I'm enjoying your contribution anyway, Gideon. Mimi, you are a lawyer now. So if it was the High Court as is going on now, he's taking you, Gideon is taking you as the please dance your dance. Gideon, he says dance your dance. So all right, okay. Mimi, go on. Gideon, do you want to dance
okay.
your dance? Okay, go on.
Okay, so maybe means of maybe attracting customers via emails, content marketing, research platforms, and social media.
Excellent. I mean, the fantastic point. So we are now in the era of digital marketing. Of course, the future that Egan talked about, in the 2012 paper to talk about the future of marketing, we're actually living the future of marketing right now. And as Gideon is actually talking about, we're talking about digital, and most of you have actually highlighted, we're talking about e-marketing, digital marketing, so many other names. And even currently, we cannot even talk about just e-marketing or digital marketing. Now we're talking about social media marketing, isn't it? And all these are actually happening online. And so we're talking about the intermediation of the internet, all right? And then taking us onto a completely different kind of marketing from what we have actually discussed. Now, I want somebody to actually, pump up very hard to explain to me the concept of digital marketing, including, social media marketing or email marketing or any other, even telephone marketing, any other of these, in this domain. And what are some of the key factors that have actually influenced that kind of marketing, or the key factors that have actually mediated, the current scenario of marketing that we're talking about now? What are some of the key domains? What are some of the key things that you can talk about, and the factors that have actually influenced it? So who can tell me? Yes? Who can pump up? The person who will do that, when I'm coming, I'll bring you a special gift. Yeah?
Okay, so I'll give it a try.
Give it a try.
Okay, so for the digital marketing, it's just the marketing.
I'm trying to figure out the name. Who is speaking?
Emanuela Adego.
Yeah, Emanuela, go on.
Yeah, so for the digital marketing, it's just the marketing of goods and services via the internet. So the reason why digital marketing is a top-notch now is because customers live in the internet. As compared to the traditional market where you need to look for your customers, you have to be in your shop and wait for your customers. The internet, you are able to reach a larger number of customers worldwide, like regardless of locational differences. And also taking the internet, for instance, it is cheaper as compared to the traditional market. So the traditional ground, you need to pay for shop, you need to pay for rent, for prepaid and other stuffs. But the internet is quite cheaper. You just need to get your internet bundles, and that is all. And I also think a reason why digital marketing is a top notch now is because, okay, I've spoken that larger customers, because of customization. Because of customization.
Fantastic.
And I also think it's because
explain that point. You haven't explained that point.
The fact that customers, you can actually design products based for a particular customer. So the internet gives customers the platform to talk to the business person or directly. So a customer can actually request for what he or she wants in a particular product.
Fantastic.
And the company will come up and design something for that particular customer.
Fantastic. Great point. Yes. A round of applause for Emanuela. You want to say more?
Hey, no, it's okay.
A round of applause for Emanuela. Guys, okay. Excellent. So Mimi, can you note it down and then remind me, that I have a gift for Emanuela? Yeah, great
please,
point.
I want to add.
Okay, add on.
So, okay, with the digital marketing, I think now marketers can have data analytics, such as, like, there are many technologies, data analytics, to measure how successful they are being. And using digital marketing, you are able to segment your customers well. You're able to segment your customers well and also know their preferences. So sometimes you see, you can be on social media and then an ad will pop up, and sometimes maybe you need that particular product. I don't know how to explain it, but it gives you
fantastic
based on your preferences. Unlike traditional marketing.
Amazing. A round of applause to Mimi as well. Fantastic point. So the two of you are noted down. All right. Remind me, Mimi. Now, so, great point. So let's start from Emmanuela's point, right? Now, within the digital space, as we've talked about, now we are in the era of digital marketing. And, the idea is that, the consumer had actually expanded, has gone beyond, the confines of the business. I mean, beyond the geographical spread, all right, the geographical space. So we had, a situation where people were requesting product, from across the globe, using, what we call catalogs, etc. Companies started using a kind of mediated marketing through catalogs, So you have a magazine, and then there is a post, some kind of a card in the magazine where you can use it to request the product, and the product will be shipped from England or from America to wherever you are. Now, that meant that customers of businesses have actually gone global. So the idea of globalization, where companies were now, companies and customers were now...
Voice, hearing him like this without seeing the picture.
Okay, so companies and customers were now not bonded, by the location, and they were spread across the globe. Meant that companies now could actually go beyond their borders to satisfy customers, all right? So globalization, meant that companies should have a means or a way of satisfying customers' needs, regardless of where they found themselves, all right? And so either the company would actually go and, start a business in the other side of company. So we had international firms, moving into what we call the foreign direct investment. They go into a company they set up, or they went into a joint ventureship with other businesses to set up and then to satisfy those customers. Now, when technology, and that's a big part of it, technology became rampant, technology became intrusive, all right? Technology became, in fact, very, very accessible. So as opposed to, businesses with deep pockets having the ability to do R&D, research and development, and then bringing on board certain dimensions of their business, the advent of technology and the availability of it meant that even small businesses could operationalize or could leverage on technology and satisfy customers regardless of where they are, all right? So the customer didn't, it wasn't geographical location, or location wasn't necessary, and didn't actually become the most crucial point, for customers to actually get the satisfied product, or for companies to actually satisfy the product, the customer. We had, a system that, regardless of where we are, we could actually consume a product, and we could actually satisfy, customers. So globalization became one crucial point that actually brought into the space, the new marketing space that we're talking about, which is, data marketing, or the e-marketing, or in many other functions of it, all right? Which, social media is part of. Now, again, the idea of, customization, the idea that customers did not want to be treated as a pack of a group of people, but individualization. I want it in my own way. I want to request it at a time that I want, all right? And so the idea that you can go online and tell customers, companies that, oh, can I have a bottle of water? I'm not home by 6 o'clock, but you can actually send it to me, at around, 8 o'clock, by which time I'll be home. I just ordered, a hard drive, and I was given options to choose what time do I want. I realized that we had an appointment, appointment around in the morning and afternoon. So I had to schedule it between 7 and 11 p.m. And lo and behold, they actually delivered around that time. That is customization. Unlike now, those days you had to actually move your car to a company's premises. And mind you, by 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock, they are closed, which means that I am time bound, to go there within these hours to get my product. Now I determine when I want it, and I choose the time that I want it. So customization, not only in terms of the product itself, but across the 4 Ps, all right? So customization in terms of product design, the digital space is allowing people to choose their own designs. Customization in terms of delivery, which we call the The other P, the place, all right? When do you want it and where do you want it, all right? Customization in terms of price. Now, because of the new marketing, now you have the opportunity to choose certain parts of the product, not entirely. So sometimes you could have certain product and say, okay, if you add this, the price moves to that. If you add that, the price moves to that. There are certain parts of the product that you may not necessarily need that you can actually do away with. And so customization in terms of people's preferences, in terms of what price they want to pay, depending on what features of the product they add or do not add, all right? Customization in terms of, even the promotion, as Mimi was actually trying to say. When you go online, all right, and when you choose to go on social media, we have something called, nano marketing, where, companies will actually use, your online behavior, whether you've been searching for shoes or you've been searching for phones, and then use that to, to launch, or to determine what kind of, a promotion you see or what kind of product you see on your computer. So you realize that all of you will be on social media, you'll be on Facebook, but the kind of, what do you call, promotion, the kind of adverts that you're seeing on your social media page, your Facebook page, is different from the next person sitting by you, the kind of advert they are seeing. Why? Because your search behaviors and your behaviors online, your online behaviors are completely different. One is interested in cars, one is interested in, clothes. So you'll be seeing different kind of advertising. Meanwhile, in the past, we're all watching GBC and we're all seeing the same advert at the same particular time. Cars and cars, or if it's clothes, we're all seeing clothes, all right? So you realize that even customization in terms of what kind of advertising or advertisement that we are exposed to is now what we're talking about, all right? And then of course, so many other, things that we talked about. And Mimi added another crucial point in terms of, accountability. Now, marketing, it was difficult earlier on for marketing to even account for our promotional budget. Although there were attempts for us to be able to evaluate how much we have spent in terms of advertising and how much we have actually gotten back, that is return on investment. It was not a precise science because, when you actually advertise on TV, the TV rankings or ratings will tell you maybe 100 people actually watched the channel. But it may not be able to tell you how many people were actually exposed to your advertising segment when your adverts were on, all right? Yes, the readership or the viewership were 100, but how many people got exposed to your ad at that material moment? We couldn't account for them. And even those who got exposed, whether they actually saw the ad or when the ad came, they were flipping their phones, we couldn't tell. So we couldn't have a precise means of accounting for our budgets in the olden marketing days. Now, within the new marketing, which we're talking about data science, we're talking about marketing analytics, etc. Within the digital space, we are able to account for those. So click per view or click per pay, those features that we have, in online marketing, we are able to tell that an advert had been exposed to a person. We're able to tell that indeed the person actually read the ad or didn't read the ad. We're able to even look at reactions to an ad. And that's why social media love, a like or retweet or comment, all those reactions are crucial in the new age of, is it time? Almost time. In the new age of marketing, because we could be able to, or we're able to account for those and say that, yes, how much money we have spent on a particular campaign has been fruitful or not been fruitful, based on the kind of technologies that we are deploying. So yes, we're talking about a new age of marketing, after, the RM or the relationship marketing. And so we're talking about digital marketing, digitization. We are talking about, marketing analytics. We are talking about, even sometimes we talk about neuro marketing, where, we're able to actually read, people's minds in terms of what really they want. And we're able to scan their minds and be able to position product, to suit that. So there's a new, or the future of marketing that we are talking about, we're actually living it now as people. And all of us have had an experience. These days, most of the time, the women, what they do is that they go on Instagram and look for styles, isn't it? As Emanuela was explaining. All right. You go to Instagram and you can look for, a particular style. You flip it. From then on, you move to a website or a page, a social media page of the fashion company. From then on, you are ordering, and from then on, you realize that you are launched onto a page, a web page of that company. So you see that your path to consumption is actually coming from your phone and then onto the company's, social media pages, and then onto their website, and then onto, let's say, a delivery van or a delivery Okada, and then you consume. Completely different pattern, from those days, the earlier part of marketing, where even if you had seen the advert on TV or on the press, you have to go to a shop, and the shop may locate in maybe Accra Mall. And from then on, you go and do your window shop or whatever, before later on you go and buy. So you see that the pattern or the path to purchase had actually completely changed. Now you do not even have to go out. You may sit in your hall of residence, completely making purchases, right from being exposed to the ad onto the stage where you actually consume the product by wearing the dress without necessarily setting foot at the premises of the person who's actually selling the product. You may not even know them, the person who actually dispatched it or the manager, but you are still having a relationship. And as we talked about earlier on in terms of name, maybe the name that they know you of is your sign-in name, all right? You have your name on Instagram called, Sweetie Pie or whatever. And that's the name that they know, or even 123, Ajua 123. And that's the name they know. So on their system, they are dealing with a customer called Ajua 123 or Ajua Sweetie Pie. And they have established that bond with you based on that name. They see you in shop and they are calling you Ajua Sweetie Pie because that's the name that you have on their system. Are you with me? So that's the kind of new marketing that we're talking about. And we're just about to finish our session. Just about 5 minutes, to end of session. So yes, I'm sure you now have an idea of how marketing has developed over the years onto the modern time of global marketing digitization being a huge part, the growth of ICT amazingly underpinning the new age of marketing, and our quest to be accountable to the marketing resources that we're actually given, or to the resources that we're actually given, is actually influencing the new age. Yeah. Any questions or contribution? Who can add or who can contribute? Yeah. Is that clear? The explanations that we've had so far on the development in marketing?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, excellent. Now, any questions or contribution? Any questions or contribution? I'm listening. Yeah? Okay. Yeah? Daniel?
I would like to contribute that I think another reason for the digital taking place because the digital world is becoming more real than the physical world. I think so.
Excellent.
People are on the internet, right? Almost the age, like the 90% of people are on the internet, and their focus is more on the internet. So I think it's becoming more real than the physical world. So that is how marketers can also reach them. Also getting on there.
Okay, great. So Daniel is saying that the digital world is becoming much more real than the actual, all right, the physical world as we know. And I think that's a very good point that he made. But I didn't actually quite get the explanation, Daniel. The line wasn't that clear. So save chat. So if you can actually, Okay, I don't know whether everybody got it. Okay, so it says, so it's based on consumers' preferences that has changed the marketing space, which Francis is asking. Yes, Francis. So that's the point that we're actually making, that yeah, the marketing space has changed because consumers are demanding, more and more. And as a result, it's actually changing the dynamics. So the issue of consumer preferences, or what we call consumerism, all right, the active engagement of consumers in their own needs, and of course, the growth of competition, the idea that the boundaries are actually collapsing. And so regardless of where company is, they can actually be competing. So you realize that companies from China are even competing with companies in Ghana on kente, etc., are also influencing, that the idea. So globalization is having a toll, from both the consumer side and from the supply side. Okay, all right, good point. Any other? Any other?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I think that do we have a class tomorrow, Mimi?
Yes, please.
Yeah, what time is it? Everybody is aware.
Please, I'm coming.
I think you put Gilbert.
Yes, Doc.
What time is the RM class for the MBM?
7:30.
Okay.
7:30.
Mimi, you said 7:30.
Yes, 7:30, please.
7:30 to what time?
9:30. 9:20.
To 9:20. Okay. Gilbert, what time is the MBA class, MBM show?
That's on Thursday.
On Thursday?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay, great. All right, thank you. All right, guys, thank you so much for coming. Thanks, Danefia.
Thank you.
So we'll continue tomorrow. And we'll send the slides over to Mimi. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed the class today.
Yes,
we did.
Yes, sir.
Excellent, fantastic. Yeah, I'm sure you will enjoy it as we go on. Okay? All right. Thank you so much, guys. And make sure you use your mask. All right?
Yes, sir.
Are you guys following the protocols?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah, because COVID is very real, all right? And we don't want any of you to be in trouble. Please, all right?
Yes,
Okay, sir.
Okay, guys. Take care.
All right, you too.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
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 There's no longer fake. It's real. Some people say not fake. Unbelievable. COVID is real.
William,